Thank you so much for coming out on a January evening to join us to talk about early learning and childcare in Norway and in Ontario, and the connections we have and the challenges that we face. So my name is Carolyn Ferns. I'm the policy coordinator at the Ontario Coalition for Better Childcare. I'd like to start off by acknowledging the land on which we're gathered is the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat, the Piton First Nation, Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit River. As we're discussing early learning and childcare issues, tonight I think it's important to acknowledge the land and to reflect on the land, and particularly the challenges that Indigenous people today face in accessing culturally relevant and culturally safe early learning and childcare. So now I'd like to introduce Brooke Richardson, who's the president of the Association of Early Childhood Educators Ontario and a longtime colleague. And she's going to provide a little bit of context for the lecture that we're going to hear tonight by Kari Eide. So thank you very much.
Love it. I love it, enthusiasm. So I'm so excited to be here tonight. I just want to say a huge thank you. I came to Carolyn and Aaron with this idea. I'm like, I met these people, we can do this thing, it'll be great. And of course, they never doubted it, and they've been nothing but troopers and leaders. You've really taken it on, and I'm really excited that it's come together tonight and you're all here. So I want to say a big welcome to Kari and Nader, who I had the pleasure of meeting at the Reconceptualizing Early Childhood Education and Care, the conference in New Mexico in October. So they are two tireless advocates for children. They're traveling the world, inspired by a passion to better the lives of children and families. You don't meet people like them very often, and I knew as soon as I heard Kari speaking, and I was like, wow, this woman is something, and I need to talk to her. So I did. So I did talk to her, and then she's like, I'm coming to Toronto, and I was like, are you kidding me? Okay, so that's how this kind of all got started. So her presentation at the REC conference was related to the Kindergarten Uprising. Barnehageopprør. Not bad? I sat listening to her presentation, and I was just like, oh my gosh, there's so much from this that just had me thinking about our Decent Work project and the context in Ontario and all the things happening. So here we are in Ontario, our context, obviously, and we're all probably familiar, we have a very socially and fiscally conservative government. But at the same time, I think it's important to point out we also have strong resistance to cuts within the education sector. So, that photo was taken at Queen's Park at the end of the summer when there was that big rally. I was in there somewhere with my 4 children. But we're seeing job action and strikes in the education sector. But there's also been a lot of alliances between parents and teachers and students in a way that I find unique. Let me just put it this way. I wasn't the one in the playground going and approaching parents. Someone approached me and asked for my signature on a petition, and I was like, this is a win. And then we've seen very fierce resistance to changes in FDK. And then I should also just say we had that announcement today about the $60 child care that the government will give you for if your teachers are on strike, and that's interesting because it definitely puts another factor into the relationship between government and parents. So we'll see. I talked about that, but then we've had, just to name a few things, we could probably go on for a while, but we've had the abandonment of the preschool program that was introduced by the Liberals in 2017. We've had the removal of the for-profit maximum threshold in August 2018. We've got funding cuts to municipalities. These are on hold in Toronto for a year, but in Peterborough right now, there's rallying to keep municipal childcare centres afloat. And an overall interest in the deregulation of the sector and in the name of reducing red tape. And it was really illuminating too to have kind of casual conversations with Nader and Kari just telling them about the state of childcare and regulation and deregulation, and it was very eye-opening, which is kind of it's kind of nice to know that it's not that way everywhere, right? So this session tonight is really about organizing into act. How do we reposition the problem from a private, gendered issue of either mothers or early childhood educators to a matter of urgent public concern? And this is something we've been trying to do for a long time, but maybe, Kari and Nader can share with us new tools, new tactics, new strategies, and they were, as you will see, very successful at really connecting people across lines, so parents, educators, and other community members, rather than it just being necessarily early childhood educators. So yeah, I'm hoping that this is Denmark. This is not Norway, but this was also there was a similar pushback in Denmark when I was doing some research there in the spring, and this had happened just before I was there. But I'm hoping we can replace these beautiful buildings with our Toronto landscape and have a nice movement. So, without further ado, I am very honored and excited to introduce Kari, all the way from Norway. Yes. Get your lips all ready. Okay. Sorry, I just want to say one other thing. I just want to welcome everybody too who can't see me, can you? Because I'm standing at the podium. Oops, sorry, you should have told me to move over here earlier. I just want to welcome everybody online. We're really excited that you're all here. We wish you could all be in the room with us, but this is the next best thing.
100+ people are joining us online tonight.
Yes, sorry, yeah. They're all boxes right here. All right, Kari, are you going to stand over there?
I'm going to move around.
Okay.
But I need my song.
You have a song?
I'm on. Yes.
Oh, sound.
I need my song.
Right.
So, I'm so excited to see everybody here. This is good. This is great. Thank you for being here tonight. But before I continue, first of all, and yes, I'm a kindergarten teacher and I move around a lot. Yes, get used to it. So, first of all, before I start my presentation, I want to express our condolences and pay respect to the victims and their families of the tragic plane down in Iran. And I am asking that we are having a moment of silence in their memory. Yes, that was very unusual for me to be quiet that long on a stage. So, tonight I am going to talk a little bit about the Norwegian Kindergarten Uprising and what we achieved and how we achieved it. And I'm going to talk about the responsibilities that we share, whether you are an easy worker. Oh, my sound! I lost my sound. I did? I'm still good? Okay. So whether you are a worker in an easy setting or you're a parent, we have responsibilities for the very young ones in our society. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our responsibility. So, first of all, I'm going to say a little bit about myself so you can know who I am. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the different contexts in Canada and in Norway and the differences, and maybe there are some similarities. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the Kindergarten Uprising in Norway and something called Wall of Silence. And I hope that you don't have that here in Canada. And I'm going to show you some examples of stories that broke down the wall of silence in Norway. And at the end, we are going to have question and answers. Okay? You good?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. So, who am I? Well, I have to look at my notes because I get confused sometimes. I should know who I am, so I know who I am, right? I used to be a kindergarten teacher in Norway. For 20-some years, I have been working with children and their families. And 16 of those years, I've been working in kindergarten. And now I get nervous and I lose my mind, so I have to take a look at my notes. Yes, that's how it is. Okay. And in kindergarten, I worked with children from under 1 up to the age of 6. And I have been working as a cleaning lady, as an assistant, as a teacher, and as a director. So I have done a lot. And in 1998, I got my diploma, and in 2011, I got my master's degree in early childhood education and care. And that's a really long word. And to say it short, I say easy. Okay? Yes. And in 2016, some things happened. Oh yes, I forgot to bring my presentation up.
That's okay.
Oh.
We're all looking at the Denmark slide. And
Yes,
it
but
feels
that's
wrong,
good.
So
Denmark is not Norway, so that.
exactly.
Let's see. That's how it goes, you know, when you're a little bit nervous and you're trying to do a presentation in a language that's not yours.
Do you want me to push the buttons for you, or are you good?
I'm good. Oh yes. So, this can just linger a little bit while I'm saying a little bit more. So, where was I? Yes, 2016, some things happened. I left kindergarten, and totally unrelated, the Kindergarten Uprising started. And I became a member, and I started to discover that I am much more of an activist than I thought I was. So, fast forwarding 3 years, I find myself in New Mexico talking about the Norwegian Kindergarten Uprising at an international conference. And there I met some childhood advocates from Canada, and they said, "We want to learn more." And I said, "Sure, I'm coming to Toronto." So here I am. And a little bit more about me. I really care about human beings, especially the very young ones. And I want all children to grow up in environments where they know love, where their well-being and their safety is well kept. And I want all children to have the best possible childhood, because in childhood, the fundament for the rest of your life is made. And I want all human beings to have a solid fundament in life. So that's a little bit about who I am. And now I'm going to continue. I'm going to push the button and hopefully we get a new slide. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the different contexts. And now I need yes. So tonight we are talking about the same things from different contexts. And to be able to understand each other better, some things need to be clarified. So, when I say kindergarten, I think that you are thinking of a setting for 4 to 5 year olds that is doing something specific. But I am talking about a setting that's for under ones and up to 6 year olds. And the parents doesn't pay more than 20% of the total cost of the place in the kindergarten. And the rest, that is subsidized directly to the kindergarten from the government. And I know I get kind of a panic, and OCD is kicking in on me because I need to have all my facts, I need to know that they are correct. So I'm pretty sure that it's, I have to, I think it's 91.8 of all children between 1 to 5, they go to kindergarten. And there's two types of, do you see it? Yes. Two types of daycare in Norway. It's barnehage, which word by word translates to kindergarten. And there's familiebarnehage, which in a way translates to family daycare homes. But I don't know if it's the same thing that you have got in Canada. And also, all kindergartens are regulated by the Kindergarten Act and the Framework Plan. And kindergarten in Norway is the first non-mandatory step on the educational ladder. That means that the kindergarten is placed under the administration or under the Ministry of Education and Research. I think I got everything. I think so. So, meeting the Canadian context was very confusing for me. Because there are, it varies greatly, from territory to province and from, across the whole of Canada. And you have 4 types of daycare. And it's like confusing for me. And
Us too.
yeah. And the cost is very high. It varies, but it's very high compared to in Norway. And the access to a regulated place is varying. It's generally low, like 24%. That's what the OECD told me. So I think that was all. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yep. So I'll push the button and I'll move on and we will see what's coming up. Oh, what's the Kindergarten Uprising? So, the Kindergarten Uprising is an ongoing, and I wrote this down so I had it perfectly. Where is it? Oh, the Kindergarten Uprising is an ongoing resistance and activism focusing on the best interest of the child, and it's not limited to educators and carers, or teacher educators, or researchers and academics in the field. No. It extends and includes parents and other family members and ordinary people who are just concerned citizens who care about children and childhood and upbringing and the society, and they care about the shape of tomorrow because that's what the children is, right? So, yes, the kindergarten, there's my favorite word, the kindergarten people. Yes, do you know what kindergarten people is? When I described myself earlier, I said that I want children to grow up in environments where they know love and blah 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 blah, the rest of it. That's what dedicated kindergarten people is. You don't need to be working in a kindergarten or have your child in the kindergarten. You just have to care about early childhood education and care or upbringing, So it started in 2016 with the release of the white paper number 19 and suggestions to change the framework plan and the Kindergarten Act. And the changes, the dedicated kindergarten people, we did not like the changes that was suggested. More systematic teaching on the cost of play. Norms of language skill for all 5-year-olds, regardless of what language or what languages they are growing up with, and for how long they have been attended kindergarten. And they wanted more mapping and testing of children. And you know, when you map and you test children, the way that they suggested, it reveals that you are considering children as incomplete. And there's something wrong with them, so we have to look for it, you know, and find what's wrong with them so we can fix them. But children are children. They are complete. They are perfect. Why should we look for something that's not there? Well, sometimes there's something there, but we don't. Then we who work in the settings, we know what to look for. We can, you know, yeah. I'm just talking now. So, and they wanted to take away our freedom to choose what method to use. They wanted to do something with our autonomy, and we said no chance. And they wanted to do changes with the staffing, and that's a whole different chapter. I'll come back to that because, I forgot to say that when I was talking about the different contexts, the ratio. In Norway, the ratio of staff is 1 to 3 when you are under 3 years old. When you are older, it's 1 to 6. That's for staff. And for teachers, if your child is under 3 years old, it's 1 to 7. If they are over 3 years old, it's 1 to 14. And these are changes that the Kindergarten Uprising helped. You know, we made it. We didn't have a staffing norm, a statutory staffing norm. So we got one. And now we are just showing that this staffing norm is insufficient. So now we are working on changing it. But it's good to start to having one. So, you okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. So, what have we got here? Oh, this is I don't know the correct word, but this is kind of a bulletin or something that we use on Facebook, you know, on social media, and it's also printable. And what it says is it's information to the politicians. We are still waiting for the staffing norm that you promised us. Where is it? Hello, we need it. So we decided to show up outside the parliament building and helping to remind the politicians about doing their job and keeping their promises. And we encouraged people to please inform a politician in your community. And people did that. And now I will look if I have any notes on this one. No, I don't. So, now I think I'll move on to the next slide. Let's see what that is. Oh. Achievements of the Kindergarten Uprising. Yes, it is. I have to look at my notes because I get kind of nervous. So, we influenced and impacted the policy making. We got a staffing norm. And we kept play. And the language norm thing disappeared. And we managed to engage the parents into the public and political debate about early childhood education and care, childhood and daily life in kindergartens. We influenced how the workers in kindergarten regard themselves. And we are proud. We are proud. And we influenced how the larger society regard easy and the professions, the workers in those settings. Yay! These are steps in the right direction. And that's good. We need this. We want this. And this photo, this is a photo of that someone took on Labor Day. We had arranged protests in different cities in Norway. And they were working with, you can see the banners, I don't know. Yeah. So this is from one, I don't know where it is, but we were out in the streets. Am I forgetting something? I have to. Somehow my notes doesn't show, and that's very confusing. Can you help me, please? Yeah.
Oh, the notes are just not here.
Okay, but that's for this one. I'm on
you want
this
to go to
one.
the next slide? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, there, you should be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, how did we achieve these achievements? The Kindergarten Uprising. The Kindergarten Uprising is organized in. How can I explain this in English? Social medias, Facebook, that's the thing. And there's an action group that holds the threads. They are responsible for a Facebook page and a Facebook group. The Facebook group is a closed group and it's 24K members. That might seem like a small number, but when you consider the population of Norway, it's really a big one. The Facebook page is public. In the Facebook group, closed Facebook group, we discuss and we talk and we connect. And that was a whole new world for me as a teacher. Because I felt like an isolated island. There was no one else. I felt that there was no one else who had thoughts like me, who were resistant like me. But on Facebook, I connected with other isolated islands, and these things happened, and these things happened. And the action group facilitated ways for us to tell stories. Because we who work in kindergarten, we are really good storytellers, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, the Kindergarten Uprising, they facilitated 3 hashtag campaigns. One of them, the first one was called, and it's still going, hashtag unjustifiable, telling unjustifiable stories from the daily life of a kindergarten, or the kindergarten, no. And the stories, they are really hard to read. For me, they're really, really hard to read because they reveal a system that leaves the kids in the losing end, always. So this is something that we are trying to do something about by telling our unjustifiable stories. We need to let the people who needs to know. And there's 2 other campaigns that is ongoing. They are kind of data collection because we are evaluating the new statutory norm that we got this year. And the two hashtag campaigns are called, in English, Actually and Really. And they are collecting data about how many hours of the day is the statutory norm fulfilled. And the other one shows how it really affects the children's lives. Okay, I will give you a little bit later, I will give you examples of stories of silence. This is a really horrible culture that exists in Norway. And I hope it doesn't exist here. But if it does, you will learn now how to break it. So, the culture of silence is a culture that has existed within the kindergarten settings for, I don't know, very long. And it's a reluctancy to speak up. It's a reluctancy to say something against the leaders, the owners, the corporate, the policymakers, the politicians, the authorities. The kindergarten workers in Norway, they have been, whenever the leaders and, the authorities have said that we have new demands for you and there are no resources following that. So we just have new demands for you. And we said, okay, yes, we'll do that. We didn't tell them that this will affect the children this way, that way, this way. No, we just accepted. So it's more like loyalty to the leaders and the employers and the overall authorities, to the corporate. It's not loyalty towards the children. And the children, we are there for them. They are at the core of our profession. But it doesn't show. So, we needed to break the wall of silence. And this one, it says, break the wall of silence now. First, through 31st of May, we are doing an uprising towards the hashtag unjustifiable every day in kindergarten, all over the country. Thank you. So, when you cling to the culture of silence or stand by the wall of silence and maintain it, you are undermining yourself. When you are reluctant to hold an opinion, to take a stance or to speak up when something threatens the children and their well-being and safety, it's like you are not trusting your own experience, your own training, and your own expertise. Which makes you, those three things, they make up your professional fundament. And if you're questioning your professional fundament, you become easy target for other interests that want to profit on us and from the children. And that's not acceptable. You got it? So use your professional fundament and speak up. That's what I want you to do. So, I'm sorry, I have to see my notes. So, storytelling, that is what we are good at. So no, we took the storytelling to another level through the hashtag campaigns. And the hashtag stories, They were published in traditional media and online. And we were so good at storytelling that actually the parents joined us. They made their own uprising and they support us. Because, you know, we are together about the children. We want the best for the children. And we have to, sometimes we have to remind the politicians, don't leave the kids behind. And that's what we are using our professional fundament in Norway. We are telling the politicians that this is not okay, and we are connecting it to our professional fundament. Now I'm losing my words and I'm getting stressed out. So I'll move on. Yes. So this is unjustifiable story number 15. And this is a horrible and hard story. I will let it linger a little bit so you can read a little bit. So. I'm sorry, I have to read this and not talking because it's really hard for me. The full unjustifiable story was published May 2nd in 2018. It's a really long story, so this is just a short, thing. The story is about a teacher calling for a substitute as two of her co-workers cannot come to work due to their own sickness or their children are sick. So it's just the early shift and the teacher, 2 persons along with 18 children. So the teacher, she calls her director and asks if she can have a substitute, and the answer is no. The director is home, she's sick, and the director says no. The owner doesn't allow that. It's a public kindergarten. So the teacher disregards the order and calls for a substitute, and not after long her boss's boss calls her. And this is what happened. I'm told that I will be deducted in pay, that a personnel case will be set up, and I will have big problems. I quietly accept. A child falls and gets hurt, and I am the nearest person. I tell her I have to hang up and go. She rages on. I hang up and go over to help and comfort the child. I'm scared. My heart beats out of my chest. I cannot lose my job. I have 2 school children. I feel so small, stepped upon, and angry. But I am at work, so I shake it off. This story is also about someone who is in a very tight spot. You know, us workers in kindergarten, we are trapped in a very, very tight space together with the children. And we with the changes in the law and everything, our room to maneuver is very, very, tiny, very tight. And in this tight space, there's a lot of frustration. We don't know what to do. We want the best for the children. So this is a story about someone in a very tight spot, about their loyalty and courage. And first and foremost, it's about their mindset of putting the children, their safety and well-being first. But it's also a dangerous trapdoor. When a profession tends to put themselves last, they make the entire profession an easy mark for exploitation by policymakers, owners, and other interests who benefits from holding us down with ever-increasing demands and low payment. Only by sharing her story, she, the author of the unjustifiable story number 50, raises up from the abyss of the forces that try to exploit her professional responsibility and mandate, and she gives hope and wings to others who might find themselves in similar situation. Sharing this story and other stories from the daily life within easy settings is incredibly heroic, because she also informs the buyers of the services of how the administration and management, which in this case points directly to the municipality, the county, and ultimately at the government, how they are willing to put the children's welfare and safety at risk, besides contributing to untenable working conditions for the staff. And if we also take into the consideration that this is the working environment of very young children, this is not acceptable. Not at all. So, lucky us Norwegians who have strong unions who support their members in case of employer retaliation and unfair dismissal. I wish I could carry my laptop around because I feel like I'm hiding it, but I don't know if I can disconnect it. What? I can? No, I cannot. Then we'll lose everything.
Do you want to put it on that?
So,
Put it on here?
if that's possible?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, kindergarten people, they are very helpful. Yes. So, thank you. So, this is a really strong and hard story. And it ends with these words. I never got fired. I never got a letter from anybody. But I never felt trust again. Not towards my leader and not towards the owner. I know I have only 5 minutes left, or less. This photo! Yes! Here it says Foreldreopprøret. That means Parent Uprising. And they are asking to have enough staff all the day, no exceptions. This picture is from the day of the process of the changes in the Kindergarten Act, where the Kindergarten Uprising arranged for a protest outside of the Parliament building, because we need to remind politicians to do their job, you know. So it was, you can call it a strike. And this day the parents took their children out of kindergarten and they had a picnic at the lawn in the park in front of the Parliament building. And this is a picture of Janne Bergstå. She is one of the admins for the Facebook group Parent Uprising. And it's her daughter. She's one of 3 mothers who started the Parent Uprising. I think it's a good picture. So, I'm going to move on and show you a story of actual story. Yes. This was posted September the 7th by one of the members of the action group. By the 14th of October, this post had 59 shares, a total of 828 engagements, and had reached 14,092 people. That's good. And this is shows how many hours during the day the statutory staffing norm was fulfilled. The kindergarten was open for 9.5 hours. And for how many hours during the day was the staffing norm fulfilled? 1. That's not acceptable. So I'll move quickly on. I think, yes. So this is a really story, and I'm sorry it's very that you cannot read it. It's in Norwegian. I'll translate it for you. So once upon a time there was a monster living under a bridge. No, I'm just kidding. So one of the girls. This was published September 16, 2019. One of the girls. We don't say classroom, but I'll use that term now. So one of the girls in the classroom says that she has to go to the toilet. I know that when this child is going to the toilet, she needs help because she gets very easily sore. This day is such a day where the one conflict overlaps the other one. And I forget to help the girl. And about 4 hours later, just before she's going to be picked up, she says that she has to go to the toilet again. This time, I can see the possibility to help her, and I discover that she's got poop in her underwear. She's pooped and she's not been able to wipe herself. She's sore, and I am disappointed, and I'm angry at myself, but most of all at the system around us. Because it's not the workers' fault, it's the system. If they had been more staffing, they could help her, right? So I think I've spent a very long time now. But if there's something that I have forgotten, please remind me about it in the question and answer section. Okay? Is that good? So that's my references. And that was all I had. And thank you. But I want to say one more thing. What I want from you is that if you are working with very young children, please use your professional fundament. If you are a parent, please speak up. And please work together, because this is about the children and it's about the future. And we all want the best for our children and for the future. That was all. Yes.
So, Kari, thank you so much for that lecture. We're going to have a short question and answer, and then Erin has some plans to get everybody in the room thinking about their own stories and how we might be able to move forward. So there's going to be an activity. You didn't think we were going to let you come here and just sit around and listen. No. This is action. So we're going to have some questions and answers first. I've got a mic, and so does Brooke. So put your hand up and we'll try to get to you for about think we've got about 5 minutes for questions and answers.
Yeah, and just like as Carolyn just said, we're going to have some time to share our story, so we can just maybe limit these to questions rather than comments.
Yeah, because we will have time for stories later.
Yes. Do you need a microphone, Lindsay? Yeah, people. Yeah.
I was just curious how you were able to have so many successes without staffing or funding, like do the organizing work.
Oh, good question. I have not been a member of the action group, but I know that the people in the action group, they are really, really dedicated kindergarten people, like myself. I am here from my own pocket. And I think that the same goes for the people in the action group. They're doing in from their own pocket. So, and I don't know if they have, I know that in Norway you can apply some funds. I don't know if you say that, yeah. And you can ask for money to do work. I don't know if they did that. I hope they did that, because it's too bad that we have to pay for this from our own pocket. Good enough?
Okay.
Hi there. Okay, so I have a question with regards to the involvement of parents. What do you think was like the key element that really got them on board?
Key element. You know, in 2016, media was bombarded from professions working in the kindergarten, and there was written a lot of articles, chronicles. We were in the debate. We were all over the place, and we were telling these unjustifiable stories. And there was this one mom, Kari Eide is her name. She just acted. She felt her heart pounding one day. She was at a meeting, and she snuck out to the toilet, and she decided that she would start a Facebook group. Since the Kindergarten Uprising had been so successful and got 8,000 members in a very short time, she thought that, maybe it goes the same way for the parents. And it did. So, yeah, I don't have exactly what was the last drop in the cup for the parents. I don't know. But it was that, I think it was that the kindergarten teachers, the workers in the kindergarten actually spoke up.
That could have been actually. Yeah, sorry.
Martha?
Yes?
Kari, can you just talk about, you mentioned a couple of times about the owners and parents as buyers of childcare. And I'm just wondering, can you first, I know that the composition of who runs childcare in Norway is mostly public. There's a private sector, of which part of it is non-profit, and then there's a for-profit sector. And I understand that there's 4 larger chains at this point. Can you say anything, does that have anything to do with working conditions? Or I am trying to figure out, this is an issue, there are differences. Could you talk about that a little bit? Does that have anything to do with the working conditions? Because I know that the wages are established. Is that right?
Yes.
So are the working conditions being eroded across all of childcare equally? I know that they stopped replacing staff, for example, or people who are away, for example. But
like
I'm trying to understand what it looks like exactly, and whether the fact, this issue of the for-profit growth in Norway, I'm interested in. So could you talk about that a little bit, or maybe it's not that interesting to you, but it's interesting to us.
Okay. You had a really big question.
Well,
That's good.
short answer.
I'll do my best. The working conditions in Norway, it's the same or almost the same whether you are in a public or in a private kindergarten, or if you are in a non-profit or a for-profit kindergarten, because it's all regulated through the law and the insufficient staffing norm. But the thing is that in Norway we have this 16-day rule, and most of the kindergarten in Norway is public, and the municipality is trying to save money. And how do they save money? Well, they say that, okay, we don't use any more substitutes. That means that, or you probably know this, that if we are 3 staff working with a group of 18 children that would be over 3 years old, if we have vacation, or if we are sick, or if we are attending a course, there's no substitute. There's no substitute. That means it's more workload for the others who's left in the kindergarten. And it's really hard working in the kindergarten. You get sick a lot. So when you are away, or you try not to be away. So you go to work even though you are not feeling well, as long as you don't, if you're not contagious. So that means that you go to work feeling not well, which do something to your health. And when someone has a vacation day or something, that usually starts this domino effect of people getting sick, because it's more work for those who are left. And that's, in one way, that's untenable working conditions, but it's also more. If I can think a little bit more about your question and come back to it a little bit later, but you have, in a way, your answer about the antenna or about the working conditions. But regarding for-profit in Norway, they are really getting it now, because it's gotten up in the public debate, and the parents don't like that other people make money on, taking care of their child with limited resources, and the child don't get what they really pay for. Time's up.
No, finish your thought. You can finish that thought.
Yeah. So, what was I saying?
Children don't get what they need.
Yeah. So when the parents don't get what they pay for, they don't like that. So now there has been in the court, I think. Yes, there has been what's it called? Trials where for-profit kindergartens has lost, and they had to pay back. So, yeah.
Can I just ask you one, just to follow up? When you say that they're not getting what they paid for, what are they not getting? Good enough childcare?
Yeah, they don't get good enough childcare.
And there was a trial over that?
The thing is that there was, I don't remember if it was a man or a woman, that had a few kindergartens, and they gave themselves for Christmas a bonus, a really, really big bonus. Like 1.5 million bonus. Which was fees that the parents paid for, excursions, going to the museums, paying for food, extra food, things like that. And this was an accountant was involved in this, and it was when it surfaced in the media or in the public, it was frowned upon from everybody, and it was
Okay.
Was that a good
Yeah.
answer?
That's great, and I think there'll be time to chat, informally afterwards, and
Yes.
we can all, talk in between. So, I think we're going to, and thank you, I'll let you have a seat.
And I would just like to say, let's have a big hand for Kari and not speaking English as your first language.